keep playing a little bit just to see. And yeah, I have this gigantic forest. He has one base, and how many do I have? I have too many bases. I'm not even building yet. So yeah, just to reiterate the key points, because I'm a little disorganized here since playing takes some concentration, etc. You want to keep your money below 400 and as close to 0 as possible all the time. That includes gas and minerals. So if I see early game that I have, 150 minerals, then I should build a gateway. If I'm building a probe and like a zealot at every one of my gateways, and I still have 150 minerals, then I should build a gateway. I also want to check this supply. With Protoss it's called Psi. With the Terrans it's called the supply. I don't know what. I just call it supply or food. I want to check this number, and I want to build supply depots, pylons, and overlords for each respective race to make sure that I am not supply blocked. And I supply block myself all the time. It's important not to do that, because that holds up your production of units if you're supply blocked. Let's see, what else? Scouting. I didn't mention scouting. It's very, very important early game, and you saw me do it, I just forgot to mention it, to send one of these probes. Here we go. This is a probe. Early game, when you don't know where your opponent is, or even if it's a two-player map and you do know where he is, it's important, let's say, maybe he has an expansion up here I don't know about. It's possible, if he is a good player, that he's hidden an expansion up here. I'm going to send a probe up here, because probes are really inexpensive. There are 50 minerals, no matter what race you are. And also a flying unit is good and a fast option. So, and you don't need to watch him. I know where he's going. I gave him his orders. He's going up there. I don't need to watch him. So I'm going to, do whatever. So it's important to scout. If he had an expansion up here, I want to know about it as quickly as possible. So early in the game, I really want to send a probe or any kind of worker, pretty much everywhere. I should build that there, whatever. And yeah, so that's an important thing to remember. Usually I would send my worker out to scout right after building my first army producing structure. In this case, it's a gateway. In the beginning of the game, you create in your build order, you want to create a pylon, and then a gateway, and then a simulator pylon. I'm not going to get into specific build orders, because you can look that up on your own or figure it out on your own. It doesn't matter. But I generally send it out. If I'm Terran, I send out my first SCV that built my barracks. Like, once the barracks is done, I send that SCV to scout. In the case of the Protoss, I send it out right after building my gateway. And for the Zerg, well, there's no set time. Zerg's really different. I would not recommend starting with Zerg. They're very, very different and unique. If you start with Terran or Protoss, and you played other RTSs, which you probably have, it is much easier to get a handle on how things work. And as if this video hadn't gone on long enough, I'm just going to quickly talk about hotkeys, which I'm not using too much because, again, I'm not focusing very hard. You probably know this, but if you control and then a number, you will save that. Let's say I want this RoboBay to be control 2. Okay, now whenever I click 2, this RoboBay gets selected. I'm over here, and I have my army selected. Maybe I'm like microing. I want to attack this guy. I'm microing. I want to attack that guy. Now all I have to do is hit 2, robotics facility, right there. So I can hit 2I, then go back here. Microing, attack him, 2I, back here. And To make this even faster, what I can do is I can hotkey my army to, let's say, 3. There are definitely better and worse hotkey numbers to use, but I don't really care about that right now. So I'm microing, I'm microing, I'm microing. When I have like a break here, I can warp in some, you know, stalkers. I can't think of the word. And then I'm just gonna micro these guys, and then quickly 2I. Micro these. Warp gates, micro, 2I, micro, and I'm just using hotkeys right now. I don't need to look at my base. Robo Bay is selected now. Army selected. Robo Bay, Army. And let's say I want to chrono boost. I'm selecting my army. I hit 1-1 quickly here. Chrono boost that, and I'm back here. So a little faster would be like 1-1, seed here, and then boom. I didn't lose very much time. Okay? Really didn't. So here, here, Robo Bay, Army. They haven't even gotten to their, you know, movement point yet. So, you know, let's say I want to go here. I can queue up I3. All right, and chrono boost 3. Boom. So this is how you should use hotkeys when you get better. In the beginning, you're not. I mean, that's pretty tough to do. Let's be honest here. But in the beginning, you probably shouldn't focus on this. It's not that important at the beginning stages. When you're really early, when you're playing early on, don't worry about this. I don't even remember to do this half the time. You can select your units and be pretty quick about it, you know. Not that big a deal. It's more important to be at your base, focusing on your base, building stuff, keeping your money low. That's called macroing. If you're macroing better than the opponent, you could have terrible army control. I could just send this, just a move, attack move, right down there, and then I can just focus on other stuff. And I actually did this when you saw me destroy his base. I did that. I didn't look at my army. My army just won. I didn't even need to focus. And that's because my army was just bigger and better. And that's because I macroed better. I had more expansions than my opponent. I kept my money lower than my opponent because he's a computer and he sucks. And I was building more gateways, and I kept everything low. Not now, obviously, because I don't care anymore. But, you know, when you're in the process of that sort of thing, that's more important. So, I hope that this has been helpful to you, to show you sort of the basics of how StarCraft works. In terms of unit counters and build orders, that's not very important. For each race, there's sort of an all-around unit that you can just pump out. For the Terrans, it's Marines, maybe tanks, and yeah, I mean, you can do great just making Marines and tanks. That's all you have to worry about when you're beginning. As Protoss, Stalkers are the way to go. Build as many Stalkers as you can, and Stalkers are gas heavy, so you want to get these two geysers pretty quickly. If you're Zerg, you want to build early Zerglings very quickly and then transition to Hydralisks, because those are the basic unit that can hit air and ground, and they're pretty strong against most things. So those are, you can just mass units, and if you're and you should focus on your macro. If your macro is good and you're just massing units that are that can hit air and ground and are all around okay, you're going to do great. You really are. Let's see, something else to address real quick is cheese. What that means is the opponent doing a strategy or a tactic, usually a strategy, that will fail if it's not scouted. So like if they try and build a barracks inside your base and try and keep it hidden from you, that's a cheese strategy. That means if you scouted it immediately, you would win against it. You know, if he's building a barracks in your base, he's sacrificing that barracks. If that barracks dies, if you scout it, the barracks is going to die. And if the barracks dies, he's out 150 minerals right there. That's a barracks that isn't at his base. It's at yours. So when you kill that, you should really think, I'm ahead now. That's great. Good for him. Oh, good for you. Bad for him. And that's also why it's very important to scout. So, you know, let's say, for example, that the game has just started, and instead of 6 probes, I have 1 for whatever reason. My base is up here. Okay? Look at all of this area in the base that's covered by the fog of war. Here's what he could do. If I can grab something real quick. Alright, forget it. If he is over here, you know, let's say it's Protoss versus Protoss, he's scouting my base. This is my base up here, right? And he sends his probe up here and sends it down here. Okay? If I'm up here, I can't see that. That's in the fog of war for me. And now he builds like a pile on here, and yeah, once this pylon finishes, he can build a gateway right here, and it's all hidden from me. So what I need to do is, with my scouting probe, or periodically with any probe, just send these guys around your own base to check things out. That way, when stuff is hidden in this fog, you can't see it. So you need to check there, and that way you'll just be aware of what's going on in your base, and what's, you know, if your opponent is trying to cheese you. Because if you see a cheese and you react to it, you'll win that game. That's what a cheese is, you know. Furthermore, it's important you can gain vision of your own base without scouting by building pylons and other buildings everywhere. So by building a pylon over here, I have vision of this part of my base. That's important. That's a good thing to do. Especially as Terran with the supply depots, you don't have to worry about the energy fields of your pylons, where they are. So you can just build the supply depots anywhere. And right around the corners of your base is a great place to put them. And with Zerg, you can just leave overlords everywhere. So, what else can I talk about here? This is a lot to keep in mind, but that's what the game is about, keeping things in mind. And if you keep everything in mind, you'll win. I mean, obviously there's some strategy and reflexes and control that come into play also, but important to keep things in mind. That's the most important thing. So, what else? Yeah, I'm not going to talk about micro. You don't need to micro at low levels. You don't even really need to micro at high levels until, you know, you're up against really equal opponents, and the only thing that'll win is from microing. Microing is, of course, carefully controlling your units, you know, really carefully. So, you know, I can move, shoot, move, shoot, move, shoot, move. You know, that's micro. Or, you know, guardian shields, force fields, whatever. That's all micro. You don't need to do that, but it helps.